Hey guys, welcome to a new video. So let's check today how good your German A1 grammar is. Let's go. So, ich lese ein Buch, I'm reading a book. And the test is like follows. You have to change the sentences. In this case, I want you to change the sentence from ich to wir, so a different subject. Of course, sometimes these things have other implications. In this case, you have to change the verb form. So let's start super easy. The answer is wir lesen ein Buch. Now, with this second sentence, wir lesen ein Buch, we are reading a book, I want you to change something again. Change the word Buch to the plural form. And then whenever you need more time, feel free to pause the video because I might move on, rather quickly. So now the next sentence with the plural form would be wir lesen Bücher. We are reading books. We are reading some books. Next sentence. Wir gehen ins Kino. We are going to the cinema. Change the subject wir to the subject form du, the second person singular pronoun. That would give us du gehst ins Kino. You are going to the cinema. I want you to add a negation here, the word nicht. But the big question is where to put the word nicht. What's the right position for it? The right position is du gehst nicht ins Kino. It's quite common to put nicht in front of a preposition, if there is one. In this case we have in, or in this case ins. In plus the article word das. Du gehst nicht ins Kino. You are not going to the cinema. Next sentence. Er spielt Fußball im Park. He is playing football in the park. Here I want you to change from the subject er to the subject sie, but it's not the third person singular, not she, it's the third person plural, so they. That would give us Sie spielen Fußball im Park. So the first person plural and the third person plural, which is what we have here, are the easiest because you always get en as the verb ending, which is always the same as the infinitive. Sie spielen Fußball im Park. Now I want you to make it a question. Use the question word wann. I'm not telling you the right position, but I'm guessing it's easy. And also put in the adverb heute, today. So what would that look like then? Wann spielen Sie heute Fußball im Park? When are they going to play football in the park today? And by the way, I'm showing you the most standard, the most ideal version. Sometimes there are other possibilities. Like for example, wann spielen Sie Fußball im Park heute? Might not be ideal, but in spoken German, also Germans can say something like that. So it's not always the end of the world if you get a different position here and there. But importantly, of course, wann, spielen, the verb on the second position, these are of course the most important things. And then Sie, the subject right after the verb here. Okay. The next sentence. Sie hört gern Musik. She likes listening to music. She enjoys listening to music. I want you to change the sentence from a statement to a question. What would that look like? Let me give you a tip. The word order will change. It will be hört sie gern Musik? Just start with the verb. If you have a question without a question word. Here there is no question word like when, wann, or who, wer, or how, wie, and so on. In this case, start with the verb. Hört sie gern Musik? Does she like listening to music? Now I want you to change the word sie to ihr. So the second person plural, you guys. That would give us hört ihr gern Musik? In this case, the verb form stays the same because for most verbs, unless they are irregular and have some kind of vowel change for the second and third person singular. For most verbs, the third person singular, sie, es, and the second person plural, ihr, is the same. Like here, you will get hört for sie hört, but also we get hört for the ihr form, second person plural. So do you guys like listening to music? Hört ihr gern Musik? Next sentence. Ich bestelle einen Kaffee. I order a coffee, or I will order a coffee, something like that. In this case, I want you to change from the noun Kaffee to the noun pizza. And when changing nouns, it's kind of important to know the gender of the noun, which can be a pain in the neck, I know, of course. It's die Pizza. It's a feminine noun. So it's ich bestelle eine Pizza. Bestellen, like most verbs, takes the accusative case. So we get einen Kaffee, accusative masculine. The only form that changes for the accusative, but ich bestelle eine Pizza is the same for the nominative case and the accusative case. It doesn't change. Also, I want you to add a modal verb, and that's the modal verb möchten. So I would like to. How would that look like? Put the modal verb on the second position exactly. And then we have bestellen as the infinitive at the end of the sentence. Ich möchte eine Pizza bestellen. I would like to order a pizza. Great. If you're serious about learning German, you should definitely check out my 27-hour-long Beginners A1 course. Join over 1,000 students that master the A1 German level with me. All details down below. It's the first link in the video description. Wir machen einen Spaziergang. We are taking a walk. How about adding a question word and making this a question? How about the question word wann? That would give us wann machen wir einen Spaziergang? So now we have a question word. It comes first and then the verb comes second. The verb comes always second in main clauses unless we have a question without a question word, by the way, which we saw earlier. So when are we going for a walk? When are we taking a walk? Now I want you to change from wann, when, to warum, why. So a different kind of question word. And also add in a negation. So why are we not going for a walk? All right? In German, how would you say that? Warum machen wir keinen Spaziergang? Here we want to negate the noun, einen Spaziergang. And you can do that by just adding a single letter, that's a K. Einen becomes keinen, and that's it. And the second change was just changing wann to warum. So why are we not going for a walk? Great. Next sentence. Ich brauche Milch. I need some milk. Change the verb here from brauchen to mögen. Mögen might be a little bit tricky and irregular. Maybe you know. The correct form is mag. Ich mag. The modal verbs, they're always a bit, most of them are always, they're a bit irregular. For the singular, we get the vowel change and not the typical endings that we normally get for the first and the third person singular. So the singular is kind of irregular for the modal verbs. The plural is completely regular. Here, ich mag. Also, let's add in a negation, just because we can. So that would be, rather than I like milk, ich mag Milch, now we get I don't like milk. We have a noun in here again. We want to negate the noun in German. So that would be ich mag keine Milch. So Milch is a feminine noun. It's die Milch. So kein, this negative article word needs an I. Ich mag keine Milch. Now I hear you ask me the question through your screen. How about nicht? Is it wrong to use nicht? Ich mag nicht Milch. Well, it's, let's say, suboptimal. Ich mag nicht Milch. But putting nicht at the end of the sentence, ich mag Milch nicht, that would also make sense and would be totally correct grammatically speaking. Although ich mag keine Milch is way more common, you can still say ich mag Milch nicht. That's also fine. All right, I ride a bike, or I am riding a bike. So how about adding two elements here? The adverb gern and also the time expression am Wochenende. So gern is super useful. You can say that you like doing something, but it's not a verb. Although we translate it with the English verb to like, gern is not a verb. It's an adverb, so let's put it after the verb. Ich fahre gern am Wochenende Fahrrad. Put Fahrrad at the end of the sentence and put am Wochenende first. So ich fahre gern means I like riding. I like riding a bike at the weekend. Now change the subject from ich to er. Third person masculine singular er. So that would give us er fährt. Why the umlaut? Because fahren is an irregular verb. Many verbs do that. They change something, mostly an umlaut, sometimes something else. and they usually only change for the second person singular and the third person singular. And we have the third person singular here. Er fährt. You know, similar to schlafen. Ich schlafe, du schläfst, er sie es schläft. Or nehmen. Ich nehme, du nimmst, er sie es nimmt. Second and third person singular are often different with these irregular verbs. So er fährt gern am Wochenende Fahrrad. He likes riding a bike at the weekend. Great. Er sieht fern. He is watching TV. Let's add something. Jeden Tag 5 Stunden. Every day for 5 hours. Er sieht jeden Tag 5 Stunden fern. So keep fern at the end. That's important here. That's crucial. Fernsehen is an irregular verb, and there are many examples. Einkaufen, to shop, anrufen, to call, aufstehen, to get up, and many, many more. With these verbs, in a main clause, they get split up, they get separated. So the prefix goes to the very end of the main clause. Er sieht jeden Tag 5 Stunden fern. He watches TV every day for 5 hours. Let's add the adverb wirklich, really, and let's make it a question also. What would that look like? Sieht er wirklich jeden Tag 5 Stunden fern? Does this guy or does he really watch TV for 5 hours every day? We have a question again without a question word. So the verb comes first, sieht, followed by the subject, and fern is still at the very end here. Next sentence. Wir treffen Freunde. We meet friends, or we are meeting friends, or we will meet friends. We many times use the present tense for the future. So it might be like tomorrow night we are meeting friends. That's why in English this might be translated to we will meet, or we are meeting, or we are going to meet. Something like that. Anyway, let's change the subject again from wir to er, third person singular, masculine. Treffen is also an irregular verb. So that would give us er trifft Freunde. He will meet some friends. Trifft. Ich treffe, du triffst, er sie es trifft. And as always, this change happens in the second and third person singular. Let's add the adverb gestern. And this is now maybe the most difficult sentence, because for the first time in this exercise, in this video, I want you to form a sentence in the past tense. And there'll be obviously part 2 coming up very soon for the A2 level with more challenging questions. So if this was too easy, there'll be a more challenging one very, very soon. So in this case, er hat gestern Freunde getroffen. In case you want to use the Präteritum, er traf gestern Freunde. But as you know, the perfect tense, hat getroffen, is way more important and way more common for spoken German. Yesterday, he met some friends. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, and so on. I'll see you in the next video. Bis bald.